Welcome to the Joe Ciccarelli Show, where I coach and inspire you to live your very best life, one step at a time.
I'm doing a social experiment where I'm going undercover as a woman on Tinder. And
Really?
Yes. And I'm doing it with a friend of mine's pictures, and we're going to create a video about it. And it's going to be really funny. So we were filming part of it today.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 18 of the Joe Ciccarelli Show. Today's episode, How to Meet Your Soulmate with dating coach Zachariah Bourne. I found Zachariah, actually Nat did. Nat found him online. She helps out, as you guys know, she helps out with my Instagram a lot. So she found Zachariah online and we connected. We both happen to be, as you'll hear, in the Tampa Bay area. And I started chatting, and as you can see, he's a dating coach. I don't run into a lot of those. I see a lot of different genres of life coaches, but I don't run into a lot of dating coaches. So I was immediately attracted because I'm actually looking to end my relationship with my wife. So I'm going to need to find a new girlfriend. So I thought I'd start getting some coaching from Zachariah. I just think it's a really interesting topic, and I really picked this. Man, this is. I'll give myself a pat on the shoulder here, but it's really Zach and I. We chatted a little bit beforehand, and what I liked a lot about this interview was that it was super conversational. So I was really able to go deep and go to a lot of different places, talk about obviously romance, how to meet someone, a bunch of quick tips. I mean, we go all over the place, guys. We talk about sex and some quick tips on that too. So I would highly recommend you give this one a listen. I know I have a lot of friends that are looking to meet someone. Whether you're looking to meet someone or you're in a relationship, there's a lot of good stuff in here about communication and how to be your best self. And if you're your best self, then you can attract all that other stuff. It's amazing though. No matter what sort of niche and self-development, you kind of end up in the same place always. It's really about being clear on who you are as a person and learning to love that person, and then everything else takes care of itself. I do need to, before I pass this thing on and get it started, I do need to give a plug to my relationship, actually. And it won't go so well after I just talked about ending my marriage to start dating. But it's funny. So I talk a lot about mental fitness and awareness and strengthening the parts of our brain. And so I always go to the same example. And it's always, whenever I'm about to get in an argument with Nat, I always do X, Y, and Z. So Nat calls me today. She's like, or earlier this week, she's in Scotland right now. Don't tell anyone that because she's trying not to let people know. So, cat's out of the hat. She's in Scotland right now, and she's like, look, you need to stop saying that every time, because she has like friends reaching out and being like, whoa, like, I thought you and Joe had like a good relationship. I didn't realize you guys fought so much. So it's not that we fight so much. It's just that I put myself on the spot looking for an example, and that's the easiest one. So that's my explanation. It's up to you whether or not it's true, to determine whether or not it's true. But back to the episode, guys. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to leave links to Zachariah's stuff in the show notes. I think, this is one of those episodes where I think if you're in a place where you're interested in this stuff, he would be a great guy to reach out to. I would highly recommend it, and I could certainly broach an introduction, but you can find his info and follow him. And he has a cool Facebook group, and obviously posts a lot of stuff on his Instagram. Hope you guys enjoy the episode. I look forward to some feedback. Have a great day. Hey, guys. Welcome back. Welcome to the Joe Ciccarelli Show. I have a great interview lined up for you guys today. Zachariah Bourne is on. Hey, Zachariah, how you doing, man?
I'm feeling great. Feeling awesome.
Yeah. We're actually both in the Tampa Bay area, believe it or not. I'm in Tampa proper. You're St. Pete, right?
Yeah, I'm in St. Pete right now. Yep. And
before we hop into talking too much about you, we were kind of doing some pre-planning for this, and we just Zachariah, and I'm going to let him talk more, and you guys will have seen in my intro, obviously, a general introduction to him. But one of the things that really caught my eye about him, in addition to he has a great following online and does a lot of great videos, was that he's a dating coach. And I feel like at this stage, I'm in my early 30s, and I'm at the stage of my life where I have a lot of my listeners or my friends and people that are around my age, and it's an interesting time of life if you haven't kind of quote unquote met someone, and maybe if you have met someone and you're not sure if it's the right one. And it's a time where people start to freak the fuck out and their saboteurs start to go crazy. What's wrong with me? Why can't I meet someone? Why? What am I doing wrong? What am I missing? Am I ever going to meet someone? Am I just going to be alone the rest of my life? And I think that's stuff that comes up a lot. And so when I saw you, Zachariah, I was like, holy shit, I need to get this guy on the podcast. And so, yeah, I mean, what's been your experience with this
Sure.
at a high level? And we'll just kind of go from there.
Sure. And yeah, happy to talk about it. And there's really no age on love. I think a lot of people kind of worry, and it's something that a lot of women worry about too, is like, okay, I'm getting older. Am I going to be able to attract somebody when I get into my 50s or 60s, or into my 40s? And that's really just not the case. One of my clients, she is in her 60s, she's in her mid 60s, and I started coaching her, and she was able to fall in love for the first time. She's, never been in love before, but she was able to find that. She's already got kids that are like, my age, but, I was able to coach her and to try to find a lot of that self-love and self-care that she really needed in order to allow a really, beautiful relationship into her life. So yeah, and it is something that a lot of people worry about.
Yeah. Definitely. So how did you get into this? And I know we've had this discussion. I think it's helpful for people to understand now your personal development, but you really focus on dating. How did that come about?
Yeah. Well, I call myself a personal development coach who specializes in dating, because I think dating is really all about personal development, right? When, what are like some of the things that people say are the most attractive? Do you think, when someone says, oh, I think these qualities are really attractive, like what are they typically? Right. Someone who's confident or
confidence. I mean, in many cases, looks. I mean, there needs to be, for a lot of people, there needs to be some level of looks, confidence, humor, understanding, caring. Those are things that are popping up for me.
Yeah. And, almost all of those except one are an internal change, right? But even the one that's not, right, looks, that's something too, that if we change the way we feel about something, we can do a lot. We can change our hair, we can get more fit. There's so many things that we can do to change our look as well. And so anyway, it's really this internal change that helps so many people. But for me, 14 years ago, personal development really changed my life. I was a very depressed person. I didn't have a lot of self-worth. I didn't think a lot about myself. And I got into personal development. One of my professors in New York, when I went to acting school, got me into it. And it really changed my life. And I became extremely happy. And I became like a huge geek about personal development, if there is such a thing. You probably have a little bit of that too, right?
I was going to say, I know exactly what you're saying, man. Yeah, it is. It's a bug. It's a bug, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing. And you're able to help so many people, through this and inspire a lot of people. That's beautiful. And probably people who listen to this too, have a little bit of that as well. And so, yeah, I became really obsessed with it. And then maybe 7 years ago, I started helping other people for free. And I was having a lot of success with it. People were having, big changes in their life. And then I kind of started charging for it. But I realized people kept coming to me for dating and for relationships. And I was really good at helping people with that. So I kind of decided to specialize in that a bit.
Interesting. And like, what type of clientele normally do you work with?
I mostly coach women in general. So yeah, I mostly coach women in their 30s to their 60s, roughly, and and the people want to find love, and I also help a lot of people become happier and live, more of the life that they really want to live.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things you just said, and it really, I mean, I guess I've never quite heard it that way, but it's so true. It's like most of the things that we look for in other people are things that can be relatively easily, I wouldn't say easily, but simply developed within ourselves.
Yes.
if we
That's
work
right.
on ourselves.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, but how do we do that, right? How do we change our self-image? How do we change the way we think about ourselves? How do we improve our confidence? And I don't think people realize just how far they can take this and how much different they can be. I mean, what do you think? I'm sure it's had a massive effect on you.
Yeah. I
Personal
mean,
development. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, personal development is if, and I'm a direct guy. It's just, I mean, if you're not trying to get better, what are you trying to do? And look, I've always been someone that probably pushes myself too far in that direction, but, and I learned a lot from that, but at the end of the day, like, we're not meant to stand still. So
Yeah.
I do subscribe to, if you're not getting better, you're probably getting worse. Now, it doesn't mean you need to go out and do 100 push-ups every day and write in a journal 100 times, but you need to be, in my opinion, constantly looking for ways to better yourself, better your life, and put yourself in a better situation,
Yeah, and to grow. Yeah, exactly. And I love what you're doing, by the way. You're talking about your 10-minute meditations, which have a big impact on you as well, right?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the mental approach to a lot of this stuff. I mean, so the operational side of it is what I found in coaching was like the difference between insight and people actually sticking with the habit is a big thing. So it's like you go through a good coaching session just like I would, right? And someone walks out and they're like, wow, like you just rocked my fucking socks. That was unbelievable.
Yes.
And then you come back a few weeks later though, and it's like, yeah, I kind of lost that when I went back to life. And so the key is, one is, I mean, coaching engagements that people, people come to you, they're like, oh, I want one coaching session. It's like, okay, but
Yeah, that it's not going to have as big of an impact, right? Exactly.
Yeah, you kind of got to stick to it.
Yeah. And well, that's what's cool. That's what I like about my, the way I do coaching is I do like a 3-month minimum,
Smart.
Yeah. So that you can have that accountability. You can talk to me on a daily basis and, we can work out all these things to kind of get you going in that direction. Yeah.
So how do you, and so I guess you travel kind of consistently, right? So how do you structure like your coaching engagements, and do you just kind of bounce around like across the world when there's not a global pandemic in action?
Well, it's not so bad. So yeah, I was traveling for a full year, and then I'm hanging out now during the pandemic for a little bit in Florida. And, yeah, what I do is, I mean, I pretty much keep it the same. I like having a very flexible lifestyle. It actually works pretty well to be on the other side of the world because I can coach during the morning, which is the nighttime here, or, or in Europe or on the West Coast. And it works out pretty great. So I just, it's my morning, it gets to be a productive morning, and I get to coach people at night here. And so it actually works out pretty well.
That's pretty awesome.
Thanks.
And then when you say, just curious, when you say like you do like a 3-month minimum, do you like, how does the access work? Do you just like basically set up sessions that they want to message you in between or call you? Is that kind of how, and I'm sure it varies.
That's it. Well, no, I mean, that's exactly how I do it. So we do like a 1-hour weekly session, and I plan it out. I give them a sheet about exactly what I think we should do. And it's individualized for each person. And usually I put too much on the docket. I usually get through like half of it, and we have to like move it to the next one but we really enjoy like what we're doing. And then they just text me throughout the week, like with what's going on. Hey, I went and I talked to my crush for the first time. I was way too terrified to ever do that before, and this is what happened, and then I can coach them through that. Or I can find ways to, try this exercise when you wake up in the morning. You want to have this perspective or mentality, or maybe you can try this. And I like to approach it almost like we're kind of like friends almost, like you try to like help a friend. So, I mean, I don't exactly have office hours or anything. I text back when I can, which is often pretty quick. And yeah, I just try to help people through it all. Yeah.
Wow. And then, how do you, okay, let's like play with it a little bit if that's cool. If I came to you and I was like, hey, like, I'm a 32-year-old woman, or whatever really. Right. But it's like, look, like, I don't know where to begin. Like, I really want to meet someone. I'm not really sure where to start. What's the type of like, like, where do you start with people?
Well, that's the interesting thing. One, I got to kind of feel out like, where are they, right? Where are they as far as that goes? I've coached people who have never kissed a guy before and coached them up to having their, first boyfriend. Some people, they've been married a couple of times but they want to, they want like real lasting love. I mean, it's real different for every person. So, but say, you take someone, average, had a few boyfriends or whatever, but really want something that kind of sticks. So what we need to do, there's a lot that we can do. One, of course, we want to increase that person's confidence. We want to make them feel like they're absolutely worth what they really want. And so many people actually are setting the bar much lower, than they could.
Yeah.
Everyone, I think, can have what they really want. Don't you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I just remember when you talked about this the other day, you really kind of opened my eyes up to stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. And so what we're wanting to do is we need to, if we want something great, we have to be a match to that greatness in a sense, right? So if we want someone confident, we should try to acquire that confidence. If we want someone fun and funny, we should acquire that. We should, and so what most people don't get how important it is in order to have that sort of self-love in order to feel worth what you really want. Because if you don't feel worth what you want, you are really going to not allow that relationship to continue in your life. And sometimes you can see it in other people. We call it like self-sabotage or something like that. And so that's why it's so important. Some people have all the things people think they need in order to have a relationship and cannot hold on to a relationship to save their life. Actually, my mother was this way. She was a model. Everyone thought she was a knockout. She dated like one of the Yankees, but she could never hold on to a relationship. And because her own self-image would not allow it, she did not feel worth it. And so, and the same thing too, one of my, someone that I was coaching a bit, they went on 100 first dates, but they never felt worth it. And they always thought it was the other person. And I helped them to change the internal, have that internal shift within themselves and to really feel worth it, increase that confidence, increase what's going on inside them. The next person, they just knew. They knew. And they've been together for 3 years now. And yeah, they have a really beautiful, wonderful relationship. It's by far the longest relationship she's been in. And yeah, I'm sure you can see that in people as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's what I like so much about what you just said was the self-sabotage and the idea that we do just get in our own ways. Yeah. And I see that so much with like my friends who like maybe a big thing. I say a big thing. I see a lot of things and I don't get overly involved in my friends' love life because unless they ask, it's none of my damn business. But when it comes to coaching and you hear some of this stuff, a lot of stuff, it's like, commitment issues. And it's just, most of the people don't really want to, not that I say they don't want to work on themselves, but they don't realize that they need to work on themselves. And oftentimes they just point to the other person. Yeah. And I've always found, one of the things I've found in my relationship, which has been really, really useful and something that I've learned a lot is, we obviously, my wife and I work on communication and,
which we all can be better at.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's like an ongoing battle in everyone's life, but one certainly worth fighting. Yeah. And I'll say to her, like, I feel like something's off. What's wrong? And what I'd find at first was like she would not be communicating to me. And sometimes that's still the case. And I'd ask her a couple times and then stuff would come out. But then sometimes what would happen is I'd be like, what's wrong? And she'd be like, nothing's wrong at all. I'd be like, no, what's wrong? And what I realized sometimes is like, there was something wrong with me and I'm projecting it onto her because that's what we do. Right. So and I think that's what a lot of people do they go out on these dates or they go out on these things. And sometimes you got to look in the mirror and that's really falls in line with a lot of the things you're saying, I think.
Definitely. And actually it's basically always us, because the other person is just doing their thing. And, their thing may not be that good, but it is their thing.
Very true.
Everybody's doing their kind of best and what they sort of want to do. And there's nothing wrong with any of it. A lot of times we want to blame this person a lot of times too, we want to give the power over to the other person. And
what do you mean by that?
Well, so often we'll say, this other, a lot of people complain about their ex and how they treated them. And, and we really have to think like, okay, but what do we do in this situation? Like, how do we contribute to this? Well, obviously we stayed in something that wasn't to our best benefit. We put the power in their hands, and we always have to take responsibility for the way that we're treated and the situations that we're in. But that falls in line with what we think we're worth. That's why you see people get into the same quality of relationship over and over and over again, where they're too much of a giver and there was someone who's, too much of a taker. But you know what? If you were if we're more balanced, we're not going to be attracted to that anymore. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be attracted to that. Think about it. The only way to have chemistry, if you're a good giver but a bad receiver, what's the only match to that? You need someone that's the opposite of that in order to complete the circuit.
Take it.
Yeah,
it just takes it. Right.
Yeah, and it's actually, it seems like it's the opposite, but it's actually two sides of the same coin in a way, And so as you become more balanced and are able to receive and feeling worth what we really want, we attract someone who is the same. Yeah, because that's when we say there's no chemistry. Because if you're only giving and not receiving, then someone who's more balanced, there isn't chemistry because that flow is not happening.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. And I think like looking at it, I feel like I see a lot in a more practical sense. Like, and there's stuff that it's from a practical standpoint, we're like, okay, we want someone that's loving and caring and all these things. But then like we go post a picture of ourselves with our, with a shirt off or with our tits hanging out on fucking line or with showing our ass. Yeah. And it's like, if you want someone that's like a really, and I'm not saying that that's only going to attract bad people, but it's just amazing how what we like say we want versus
what we're actually putting out.
Yeah. And so both emotionally, but actually like physically and practically as well.
Yeah, exactly. And with someone I coached too, that almost exact, thing happened. Somebody was wanting like a really secure, adventurous, great long-term relationship. But then you look at their profile and it was all sexy pictures. And I was kind of like, we got to think about like, what energy is this, going to kind of attract, right? What what mentality are you putting out here on your profile that you're going to get back? And she was just doing it because she thought that's what guys wanted. But sometimes getting less matches is more. And so it's not about like getting more people, but getting less people maybe better that are more a match to what you're wanting. Because you don't want all the people. You want the best people for you. Yeah. And so sometimes putting out something that's real specific that not everyone is going to like can be a very good thing if it's very particular to you.
And if you're serious, and I mean, guys are guilty of this. I was guilty of this before I met my wife. It's like, let's go on Tinder and just swipe right as many times as you can. It's like a sales call, 100 no's equal. And it's like, and unfortunately that's the world we live in where guys and girls play that game. But it's crazy to see people like have to hide themselves in a sense, like hide the real them when you're starting in a relationship. Like I think that was one of the things that really helped me find my work. Go ahead. Did you have something to add in there?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So like one of the things that really helped me, I think when I found my wife, I've struggled in relationships for years and lack thereof. And a lot of, when I was living overseas, just my self-confidence really started to go through the roof and I just watched my life change. But one of the things was like, I was seeing a life coach at the time, to be honest. And I think that was a big part of that. Really
Yeah.
was like, and I remember sitting with him and there was some stuff and I'm like, this makes me feel really uncomfortable and like this. And I'm talking to him. And then I remember at one point in the conversation, I was like, we were kind of like, he said something and I said something. I was like, so like, do you think I should like talk to her? And he kind of gave me a look like, yeah, of fucking course you should talk to her about it. But it's like funny because like in my mind, I'm like, I shouldn't tell her this, but I should pretend I'm good. And like, I think the world we live in, and I would argue at this stage, easy for me to say, cause I've met the girl and I've married and all that stuff. But at this stage, and I really felt like I was getting there to a certain point. It's like, you go on a first date and I'm not saying you're like, here's what I want today, tomorrow, but it's like the more you can just be completely honest with people from the get-go, the more you're going to just like you said, you're not going to have as many, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to think, wow, you're not for me. See you later. But you're not looking for those people anyway. Good. And that saves you a lot of time. Right.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, exactly. And that's not a bad thing. And so many people make this mistake too, right? They think, and I love that story too. And why wouldn't you just go and talk to them? Why not? It's so obvious, but why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? So because we're scared, because we don't have the, self-worth that we need in order to do that, to make that natural. But yeah, I think that's really good. And that's a big point too. Sometimes having somebody to coach you or to guide you a bit or to make it clear and obvious to you. And that obviously, that memory stuck with you can be really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. I would, I don't know that maybe I would go this far to say that. And I've talked about this before. I'm not sure that I would be with my wife if it wasn't for seeing and I didn't go to see a life coach to meet someone. It would just happen to be, just like you said, man, you go to see a life coach for one specific reason. And then if you see a good coach, you end up open up your whole life to them. And that's exactly what happened. I went there because I had a business idea. And next thing I know, I'm sitting there talking about my relationship. And I can genuinely say that I don't know that I would have, there were two particular coaching sessions I had with him that both were very, very eye-opening for me, that really led me to have powerful, incredibly important conversations early on in my relationship with my wife. And I don't know. I mean, who knows what would have happened, but I can say that was a big part of why our relationship was successful early on, which
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
And you're living what a lot of people, I'm sure, listening to this, want. To have a beautiful, relationship and in marriage. And and so, and you were able to develop yourself, and that's obviously helped you, right? That's been great.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I want to go to a weird place that just kind of popped into my head because I've been talking about this. You, and we don't need to go, we can go into as much detail as we want. We can do whatever the fuck we want because this is my show and you're my guest.
That's right.
So what have you dealt much with like more of like the sexual side of stuff, like with a lot of insecurities around that sort of? Because for me, that was a big issue. So do you deal with that a lot for people you coach?
Yes. And probably sex has got to be, out of any subject, I think that one's got to be the subject that people have the most upside down, and a lot of it comes from beliefs. What's weird about sexuality too is we form a lot of our beliefs and we download a lot of our beliefs from our society and our parents and people around us before we have any sexual desire. And so it's really easy for us to get really kind of weird ideas about it. And then as we grow up, we all of a sudden have these sexual desires, but they're like in this, but that framework that we learned early on, like it wasn't a big deal when we were a kid because we don't have any sexual desire, and so we're kind of like the elephant, the baby elephant with the stake in the ground who like grows up and, becomes a big elephant, but still has that stake in the ground. So sexuality and sexual confidence is a really funny thing. When it comes to sex, I will be honest with you, hardly anybody really knows what they're doing. That is the God honest truth. If anybody says they know exactly what they're doing, they are full of crap. And one of my good friends is a sex coach, and even she definitely doesn't know everything, and she's the biggest sex nerd that I know. And it's real expansive, and everyone's real different. One little tip I'll give everybody is, we want to become a safe haven to open up and talk about sexuality with your partner. There's a really cool actionable thing you can do too called a want, will, and won't list. And so you and your partner write down the things that you want to do in a relationship, the sexy things you like, things that you will do for your partner if they're interested in, write down that list, and then things that are kind of a hard no, which are your won't list. And at the end, you can kind of like compare lists, which I think is really cool. And, you can find new ways to explore and try new things, with your partner, and having that sexual confidence. Oh, you know what? This is something I've been wanting to talk about too. Maybe you'll like going here and
Yeah,
use
yeah,
your
yeah. Let's
opinion.
stay here because I think people are like, this is a fucking taboo, man, and people
It
want
is.
to. Yeah, yeah. So
It
let's roll
is.
with it.
Yeah. So especially this is extremely common. So and this happens too. You have it with the guys and you have it with women too, right? If you think of you have like these two archetypes. You have like the good girl, who's like pure and pristine and doesn't have any sexual desire. And what even happens is a lot of these people, they learn that sexuality is not good, or they should wait till they're married, or a lot of stuff, and really close themselves off from sexuality. And they're supposed to open it up when they get married or, meet a partner. And they get there and it's hard to turn off, and then they go their whole lives without being able to really open that up. There's supposed to be this pure thing, and it's like societally, it's okay to want children, but is it okay to want sex? Well, sex is totally natural. It's a totally natural thing to desire. It's a wonderful thing. It feels great. It brings life into the world. There's nothing bad about it. But we've really kind of demonized it for whatever reason. And but then, okay, on the other side, we have the other archetype, which, do you know what that is?
No, I don't.
The
I'm all ears.
sexy girl, right? Or the bad boy for men,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
who have their sexual empowerment, right? But maybe aren't as good, we think of as good of a person, or we don't have that same respect for those sort of people. So, but it's funny because women who, have a little bit more sexual empowerment, like how many likes do they get on Instagram,
Yeah.
or we like cling to it because it seems to be such a rare thing to be sexually empowered, right? And a lot of girls like the bad boy because they're more empowered and they don't feel guilty about, if they wrong them or do something bad to them also. But if we can have our goodness, and be that good person, and Matthew Hussey kind of talks about this, like, you should look for a good guy with an edge is like is a unique pairing, interesting combination. But really, he's kind of talking about like a good guy who's empowered, who's sexually empowered, who has confidence, and can take good care of you. And for women too, we need that as well. To be a good person and to have that sexual empowerment, to have confidence, to have self-love, and to be able to ask for what you want and to decide what you want.
And that is so attractive, right? When people
Yeah.
know what they want.
Yeah.
And that extends to the bedroom and beyond the bedroom or in any area. One of the things that pops up for me right now that is interesting, I think, is we've talked a lot about confidence, and I'm a guy who's in sexual confidence, general confidence, but I'm a guy who's likes like, okay, what does that mean? And for me, I found that I became most confident in a relationship. And I think anyone here, if you want to show your confidence, then you need to be vulnerable, right? And so to me, that was a big thing. Was like we all have our vulnerabilities. Like every single person does. Every single person does. And if they tell you that they don't, then they're full of shit. And I found that the more you can open up, like I found that my relationship took massive steps forward, got better, got more comfortable, both, physically and both emotionally, when there was that level of vulnerability, that kind of, hey, I'm going to tell you shit that I don't tell other people, and that I'm kind of really insecure about, because we all have those things. And I found that was an interesting way. And for me, it happened to be a lot of stuff around sex. So that's why it kind of comes up right now.
And
But,
I was very
yeah.
shy about, my sexuality a lot, I was, I thought like gentlemen like didn't have like sexual desires, so I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, one thing, yes, I agree, 100% that you should be okay with sharing, the deep things going on within you. One thing is, I think you don't have to be vulnerable in order to do that. We need to have enough self-love to where it's okay to share and to be open and to be able to really tell people about us.
So how do you differentiate that from, so then that's a good point, because maybe we're thinking about the same thing here. How do you differentiate, what do you consider vulnerability?
Yeah. And so this is a tricky subject, and a lot of people are, and it's a little complicated. And I've thought about this a lot at length, ad nauseum. And so, because it's a little tricky. So a lot of people, they equate vulnerability with love, and I think authenticity is super important, and I think being loving is super important, and sharing yourself is super important, and having that real openness, that's super important. The one tricky thing about it, we don't want to go to that low place where we don't. The tricky thing about vulnerability is sometimes we can give our power over to the other person. And so if we can have enough self-love, so sometimes emotionally, right, feeling vulnerable is kind of on the lower end of the emotional spectrum, right? And of course, all of us have things we're insecure about. But my point is, you actually don't have to include the other person in order to move that up. And I think that's real empowerment, is if we can share openly and honestly and not worry too much about what the other person thinks. Because whenever we worry about what the other person thinks, then we're vulnerable. But if we have that sureness in ourselves, and we know that it's okay no matter what, and that what we're sharing is, whatever it is okay, we're actually not vulnerable in that situation. Right. Because, and then that's the tricky thing about it. But I 100% agree with you that having that authenticity and being okay with just really telling the other person, this is what I want, this is what I think, is so vital. But we don't have to do it from a place where we're nervous that, this is gonna destroy the relationship, or they're gonna think less of us, or any of that. I think we can move to a place, and this is advanced. This is, I think, one of the hardest things, trickiest things to do in a relationship, to be so okay and positive about yourself that, what the other person thinks doesn't matter. Because even no matter how wonderful the person you're with, they're not going to be able to react to everything you say in a loving way. I'm sure your wife has not, reacted to everything you said as if it's the best thing ever. I know, certainly for me, I've never dated anybody, who that's happened. But yeah, I think, I think you're really onto something. And I just want to add on to it that I think we can do it from a self-love place, and then we're actually not vulnerable itself, if that makes sense.
So then that's interesting. So I think you've articulated what I was trying to say much better than I did. What I looked at it as, when you have the guts or the confidence to say things that, I guess, are, yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess I'm thinking, say things that could potentially, all right, let's play with words here. if you're in a position at any point in a relationship, but I think the first couple times this comes up, where maybe you want to say stuff about yourself or the way you feel or the certain things that are edgy, right? Or maybe not something that it's not like, hey, how's your coffee? Good. How's it going? Good. Like this is like real. Like this is real, right? I want to be real. I want to be who I really am. So I guess it's authenticity. When you can bring that authenticity and bring yourself. And to your point, what I like about what you said is almost not give a shit. Like, here's me, here's who I am, here's what I got.
And you can do that in a kind way, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can do that in a kind way. Yeah. Well, that's the tricky thing that, go ahead, continue. Go ahead.
No. You go.
So, you'll notice when you're in a state of like real love, you're just like in that pure state of loving, you just feel like so joyous and elated. Do you feel vulnerable in that moment?
No.
You almost feel like invincible, right?
Yeah.
You feel powerful.
It just feels right.
It just feels right. It just feels right. And that when you're worried, you're, scared and insecure about what they're going to think of you, right? Does that feel good? It doesn't feel so good. It doesn't feel so strong. And you can't be super present and you can't be loving in that moment when you're feeling that. And I know this kind of throws a wrench into like, a lot of people's work, what I'm saying right now. But I really think that we gotta focus on love. And, if you are going to share something deep about you, for people out there, I think it could be a little tip is, if you share, you want to try to find that loving feeling for yourself first, maybe before bringing someone else into it. It can be helpful. I've myself, just a personal story. This is when I was really thinking about this kind of thing, and I've been thinking about it for a few years. I told someone I loved them, and they didn't say it back. And I had been thinking about this vulnerability thing, and you know what? That it felt so good to be able to say that and not care what the other person thought. Most people would say that's an extremely vulnerable moment, but it was not for me. I felt great about it because I felt so pure in it and I felt powerful in it. And I didn't feel vulnerable, and they didn't say it back, and it didn't bother me at all. It did not bother me because it wasn't about them or what they thought. But yeah, it took a lot of self-development in order to get there. So
what was that like though? So then are you like, is it like, now I do get where you're coming from, and that does make a lot of sense, because what you're not doing is you're not creating importance. You're not pitting yourself. Well, I love you only if you love me, or I love you only, or if you don't love me, then I don't love you anymore. And so it takes a real gust to say, well, I love you no matter what, and you can do whatever the hell you want in a sense.
And you're not
right?
vulnerable. There's no vulnerability in that. Like it's just pure love.
So how did that work out for you? Like, did you guys end up staying together? Like, did like, I mean, without getting into detail, like,
well, it's a little bit private. But I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. I love my dating romantic life. I wouldn't trade it with anybody. It's perfect for me, and I love it so much, and I feel incredibly rich, and and everything worked out.
Sure.
Perfectly. So yeah, always good.
I feel like I brought up vulnerability right when we were in the middle of talking about sex.
It's okay. Well, that can feel like a very vulnerable moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I just had to be vulnerable at that moment. Man. I'm sorry.
But
I don't give a shit if you. It doesn't matter if you liked it or not, because I wanted to bring it up at that point.
It's okay. No, I myself have had a lot of very vulnerable sex moments, and I'll tell you what: the more vulnerable I felt, usually the worse they kind of went. And the more turned off the other person got, and stuff like that. And, that's not fun. I mean, but it also tells you a little bit about the other person too. If you're, not feeling good or you're insecure about a part of yourself, and then they want to leave because you have that tells you a lot about them also. And that's not a bad thing.
No, and that's really the crux of what I was getting at with what I was saying, right? And so I'm looking at people, and I feel like we wait too long to bring our authentic self to a relationship because we don't want to turn the other person off. But the sooner we can bring our authentic self, one is, like you said, that's incredible self-development, because you don't need that other person to approve you to be validated. Exactly. But two, you can learn pretty quickly if you bring your authentic self and the other person's like, dude, you're fucking weird. Like, get like, wow, okay. Like, that's almost a good thing, right? Because
It's
then
a
you've
great
saved yourself
thing.
a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too, is like, I just look at people maybe who are like, well, I need to be a certain way. Just be you.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
beautifully
shit
said.
fucking works out.
Yeah. Everything you just said, I 100% agree with. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and, and that's the thing too. We don't, because we don't think people will like the real us. We don't really show that. But,
Exactly.
but think about the people that we really admire. If you think about somebody that you really admire, somebody who's really accomplished a lot, and someone goes up to them and, says to them that, they think someone says, "Oh, I don't think you're great." Do you think they're going to care? They're
No.
not going to be bothered. They're not going to be bothered. They're going to be like, "Yeah, okay, no problem." And that's what's cool about it. So when you find that confidence, everything's going to roll off your back.
Yeah, it's and it goes back to a lot of the stuff I talk about on my content and my podcast is around like saboteurs, which are these internal voices in your head that tell you to play small, tell you suck, and they judge the shit out of you.
Mhm.
And when you look at it, you start to look at yourself as like two people, and
Yeah.
there's a part of your brain that has the ability to be aware and sees what's going on. And then there's other parts of your brain that are much more animalistic, and those are the ones that are very like emotional, and they're like, "What's wrong with me?" So what I'm getting at here is that I think what
Yeah.
I've found really attractive in people, guys and girls in general, and some of the people I brought on this show, and I can see it in you, is just when people actually like themselves. And they're
Yeah.
like, and you almost look at yourself as like a third person. It's kind of weird, but it's like I brought a guy on here for an interview a while back, Chris Ozar. He was off the fucking roof. He was crazy, but like you could tell he just like kind of steps back and he likes himself.
Mhm.
And that's a hard thing to do, to just genuinely be like, instead of constantly trying to, and for someone who's big into self-development, I'm always trying to make myself better. But at some point too, you're always like, well, you know what? Sometimes I fucking get excited. Sometimes I say random shit and like, you know what? That's cool. That's me.
Yeah, that's good. And you need to be your bold self. And that's the cool thing, right? And the more positive we can be, the more kind of naturally this boldness comes out in us, which is cool too,
Yeah.
right? Being more positive can have such a profound impact on that. And the more positive you are, the less you're going to have those saboteur voices in your head, right? The lower we are kind of on the emotional scale, the more we're in down in the dumps, it kind of starts warping our sense of reality. Especially, you'll notice people who've been down there for a long time, their sense of reality starts kind of becoming a bit distorted. And happier people have a much clearer perspective on reality and what's going on around them. And they're supported by those voices in their head, the way they talk to themselves. And and as we grow up, and I'm sure you see this too, like we're in school, we're told to listen to the teacher. It doesn't really matter what we as children think. It really just, we have to listen to other people. And we start thinking that we're not as good because we didn't get an A, we didn't get a star on the chart, we didn't please our parents, we didn't, please our peers or whatever. And we start to think less of ourselves. And people who think less of themselves are easy to control. But as we become more positive, as we internalize that confidence, and it sometimes turns into that boldness, where we really start to like ourselves. And that's the key to actually liking yourself too. Yeah, I think you'll like this. The more
Yeah.
positive you are, and the more you can like things around you, and see the great things in everything that you look at, the easier it is to turn that lens on yourself. And that's important. You can see the positive in things. You can see the positive in you.
See the positive, and I'm just taking a note of that. See the positive things and see the positive things in you. And that actually is exactly what I was going to ask you. Was it maybe like, I'll say, for me, one of the best ways that I've found, which is very different than what you said, but there's a lot of ways to find ways to like yourself. So
Yeah.
for me, one of the ways to do it was I had to learn how to, which is still learning, but how to trust myself.
Yeah.
And looking at myself as like two different people, because I think we all have these internal conversations. It's like,
Mhm.
if I say I'm going to do something to myself and I constantly don't do that, it's hard to trust that person. And
Mhm.
it's hard to, I wouldn't trust my friend if they always said, hey, I'm going to meet you here, and they never showed up or they never did this. It's hard to trust that person. When you
Mhm.
don't have trust, it can be hard to develop like and love and all those sorts of things. So
Mhm.
I felt like that was, I'm going to try and be healthier, or trying to try and do this, or try and make steps towards that.
Yeah.
But what are when
Well,
I
I
find,
like that. I like that a
yeah,
lot. Yeah. Having that self-trust, and, to know that, you're going to do your best, and, to know that you're going to try to, do whatever it is with the most kindness as you can, or, you know, to know honestly what you're kind of going to do, and having that self-awareness, I think, is really important.
yeah. How do you work with your clients when it comes to like accountability? Is there stuff like, okay, you're wanting to get yourself out there, you need to do it. I want you to go strike up 5 random conversations with people.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of a random question. That just popped into my head.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And what's tricky about it is a lot of our beliefs kind of get in the way. It's, if you think about it, it's really illogical. Why wouldn't we just go up and strike up a
I
conversation with
know.
5 people we like?
It
It's
is so
totally
logical.
illogical, right? It's totally illogical. Most people are like waiting for their perfect man or woman to break into their house, because they don't go
Yeah.
anywhere. They don't put themselves in any situation. Like, who, and if they did show up, they would. You know what? I find this really funny too. I think you'll appreciate this. If you were to take the average person who really wants an amazing partner, if you were to put that amazing partner right in front of them right now, they would be so unprepared, they would run away screaming. You
Mhm.
know, most people don't
That's so
know
true.
that.
It's true.
They would have no idea what to do. And most people, they think in their mind, I'm so ready for this relationship, whatever. But then it like shows up, and hardly anyone is ready, because if you were ready, you would have it. You would be
You
right
would have
there.
it.
You would have it. Okay, if you were, to think about it almost from like a totally logical point of view, like, okay, how would you go out and find a boyfriend or a girlfriend? If you were to, okay, say you had to find somebody and you had 24 hours to do it in, and you had to do it, right? Logically, you would find a way. You would just maybe go to the place that has the most amount of people and just keep talking to every attractive person until, you found somebody. And most people probably would be able to find somebody that day. But why don't we do that?
I don't know. It's true. I
Yeah,
mean,
we could. We
yeah.
could.
I mean, it's like a fun game. If you guys want to play a fun game, and I actually do this sometimes. So you go for walks a lot, and you walk by a lot of people, and you
Mhm.
just look at most people's faces, and most people aren't smiling when they're walking, right? Like, unless
Mhm.
they're in a conversation, they're laughing. Most people aren't smiling.
Yeah.
And if you can just look at someone, and when you walk by and you make eye contact and just smile, what
Yeah.
do? They fucking smile
A
back.
smile back.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like when you're sitting on an elevator next to someone and they're like looking at you and it's weird and it's uncomfortable, and all of a sudden you're just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "Oh, it's going fantastic. How's it going with you?" It's like
Uh-huh.
we create these barriers that like everyone
Yeah.
hates us and we hate everyone and
Yeah.
everything's weird. And then you just talk to someone and it's like,
And people, yeah.
it's
And
unbelievable.
people will be reflecting the energy you're putting out toward
Yeah,
them right back at you.
that's a
Even
good
if
point.
someone's having kind of a bad day, you're like, hey, oh, it's so great to see you. They can't even help but smile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They can't even help but smile. Yeah. And people don't even need to go so crazy in order to like run out and meet everybody. Oh, so I'm doing this right now. I think you'll find this very funny. You guys are the first people to find out about this. I'm doing a social experiment where I'm going undercover as a woman on Tinder. And
Really?
yes, and I'm doing it with a friend of mine's pictures, and we're going to create a video about it, and it's going to be really funny. So we were filming part of it today, and I put my friend's profile pictures on there on Tinder, and she's involved in all of this. And within 20 minutes, she got 80 matches.
Holy shit.
Within 20 minutes. And like a day or two later, she got hundreds and hundreds of matches. So anyway, it's been a really fun, kind of hilarious adventure so far.
And what's kind of your like end game with it? Just to kind of see it from the other side?
We're going to see it from the other side. We're going to comment on it from a dating coach perspective. We're going to bring some clarity to all of this. We're going to give some tips on how to do some online dating. Also, it's been an eye opener for me on several levels. But my point is, and then she got like 80 messages now from people, from 80 people. My point is, it's not hard. Actually, when you get your mentality around this, and it's not just mentality, but it's like deep internal change. When you have those deep internal change, you can actually see just how easy and abundant this is. And people are in this relationship scarcity mode, and then guess what their world kind of reflects. If you have this psychology around scarcity when it comes to love or whatever, it becomes real. Yeah, and I'm sure you see that too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, what do you recommend for people? I know you've done a video on this, and I know I wanted to just ask you, like, flirting. What's your take on flirting?
Flirting. All right. Well, for me, flirting is actually, you're kind of poking someone's level of self-worth a little bit, in a kind of playful way. And that's kind of a different way to describe it. A more hardcore version of it is something called like a shit test, that people kind of subconsciously do. For people who don't know, do you know about that?
No, I don't. I was going to say it's a shit test.
So shit testing, and that's something that, some people in dating talk about. More on the people who coach men for women. Shit test is like when someone is trying to suss out just how confident someone is, they'll give them kind of like a little bit of a shit test. So a shit test might be, maybe a guy approaches a girl, and then the girl kind of just subconsciously sees how, he'll handle being ignored, or see how he handles like, saying something kind of not derogatory, but, something kind of, just a tiny bit mean. And just to kind of see how they react. It's kind of just seeing how people react and testing their true deep down confidence, which really can't be faked. It really can't be faked very well. So that's why it's so much more important to have the real deal, the real confidence. But flirting, because there's just, trying to send this flirty text or trying to do this thing, eventually that other person's going to figure out what your real level of self-worth is. And then, so you might as well, it's really the fast way to just develop that. But flirting can be kind of like a light version of it. So like, say you're going to sit down with, the person you're on the couch, and you guys have like a blanket. And so you put the whole blanket on you, and then you just give them a tiny corner. And then you just act like nothing's wrong. And then you just, start flipping channels on the TV just to kind of see how they react. That's kind of like a fun, flirty, playful thing, and then they maybe steal like the whole covers, and they're like, oh, did you want some? Did you want a little piece of it? And you'll be able to really kind of tell someone's level of confidence when you do this too, right? Because if you just give them the corner and then they're like, hey, I want more blanket, right? They're not going to be as confident as, someone who just like steals the whole thing back and be like, go get your own, in a playful way.
Yeah, but the shit test that resonates with me a lot, because it is true. You can't, what you said is spot on. You can't fake confidence. You can't fake real confidence. You can't fake real comfort with yourself. And what I love about that so much is like, if you're serious about meeting someone and you're not going to work on that first, then you're setting yourself up for a tough situation. Would be my
Definitely.
opinion on that.
Definitely.
What do you think?
I 100% agree, and I think you're spot on with that. And think about how much less self-awareness you would have in that situation. You're going to have a lot less self-awareness. That's the thing too. I think we really do not understand just how much of an impact our beliefs, our mentality have on the other person. And you'll see it sometimes where one person will act completely differently about one person than the other. And why is that? We really inspire different behavior out of people around us based on what we feel we're worth. It's like somebody who has low self-confidence, somebody will act differently. Someone who has low self-confidence, self-worth, that person doesn't feel inspired to like buy them flowers or to take them to dinner. But someone who feels really worth it, they're going to have a huge crush on them and they're going to like go all out on that person. And that's really different, and it's cool because that's just an internal change.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. Yeah, it is. I mean, I just if you guys get nothing else from any of this, just it starts within, and you have so much more control over it than you think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What's your? I got one more question for you. I know we're coming up on an hour here, so I want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah,
but
no
what are your thoughts on girls asking guys out?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm all about it. I think women have a huge opportunity here, huge opportunity. And they even say, I was kind of surprised by this, and I think a lot of people don't realize this as well, is there's a study done, and it was saying that actually 80% of approaches are not actually by men. 80% are the women either give some sort of cue for the guy to approach, or they, kind of sideways approach, or they directly approach. But 80% of it is women. And I was surprised by that. And that's the
I was
thing.
too. I am too.
Yeah. A lot of the good guys that you want, are probably not going to feel real easy to approach you. And the guys who are approaching people all the time, that's why all the time people complain about guys who suck, because the guys who have no sense of like social cues and are really good at approaching women have no problem going on to the next one. I know this is something like Matthew Hussey talks about. And yeah, so if somebody's really good at coming and approaching you and creating attraction right away, they've probably done that to hundreds of other, people. And so probably the really good guys are the ones that are really caring, are going to hang back. And so you probably want them, but they're probably going to have a tougher time approaching you. So you got to either make it really easy for them to approach you, or, you got to, or approach them. That's why I think something like Bumble is actually really great.
Yeah. But the concept of Bumble is pretty cool.
Yeah, where the women have to message first, which I think is awesome. So yeah, I would say asking guys out on a date is a wonderful thing to do. Why not?
Why not? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, what a wide-ranging conversation, man.
Good.
All over the map. Do you have anything else? I want to give you a second to, and I'll add stuff to the show notes, but people are listening today and they're like, this guy's awesome. I want to either hear more about what he has to say or talk to him about coaching me. How do people get in touch with you?
Sure. So they can look me up, Zachariah Bourne. My Instagram is at Zachariah Bourne. I have a bunch of videos on YouTube about these subjects that you can definitely check out. You can message me through Instagram, or you can message me. You can find me on Facebook as well. I have a Facebook group called the Romance Academy with Zachariah Bourne, which you can look up as well.
What do you do with the Romance Academy? Is it just like people go in there and have conversations, or?
Yeah, we have conversations and we talk about, what people are struggling with and how to help them do that. I post new videos and new topic ideas. They can definitely have conversations. They can ask people's opinions in there. It's a really great, very supportive group. So if there's anything like that you want to, share, or, that you're wanting advice about, that's a great place to go.
Awesome. That's great.
Thanks.
That's awesome, dude. Do you have anything else before we round this thing out?
No, I had such a good time, and I really enjoyed, chatting about all this. It was a really fun conversation.
Yeah. I just want to thank you for coming and joining the show, and so much to chew on. And I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate what you're doing, man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I really appreciate what you're doing. Keep helping a ton of people. I think it's beautiful.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Joe. Thanks for listening to the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. I have a couple requests for you. Number one, subscribe to the podcast. If you liked it, subscribe, share it with some friends. Number two, go to my website, joeciccarelli.com, and subscribe to my blog. I send updates out when I drop new podcasts, once in a while with new blogs and some other stuff. So I'll keep you updated on what's going on. The last piece, if you or anyone you know has interest in joining the podcast as a potential client, or even as someone to have a valuable discussion, or someone that might be good for me to bring on here and interview and pick their brain about how they've come to find success in their life, let me know. You can get my contact information on my website if you don't already have it. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. I hope you have a great day.